everybody, and thank you for having us here. My name is Claire Chung. I'm from the Recruitment and Workforce Planning Program at the California Department of Water Resources, DWR. So DWR is one of the departments under the California Natural Resources Agency's umbrella. There are a lot of different departments, commissions under the same agency, CNRA. So some other departments under CNRA includes CAL FIRE, Fish and Wildlife, California Energy Commission, etc. In the next hour, you will hear from some of our supervisors from different career areas, and they will share with you different job opportunities within DWR. So the first thing we're going to talk about, of course, is who we are. So DWR was established in 1956 by the California State Legislature. We manage California's water resources, systems, and infrastructure, including the California State Water Project, in a responsible, sustainable way. So the State Water Project is actually a water storage and delivery system of aqueducts, power plants, pumping plants, extending more than 700 miles, about 2/3 of the length of California. It is the nation's largest state-built, multi-purpose, user-financed water project. It supplies water to more than 27 million people in Northern California, Bay Area, San Joaquin Valley, Central Coast, and Southern California. State Water Project's water also irrigates about 750,000 acres of farmland in California. And apart from maintaining the State Water Project, we also manage flood waters. We monitor dam safety. We conduct habitat restoration and provide technical assistance and funding for projects for local water needs. At DWR, we're embedding climate change response into every project we undertake. We have set standards to help evaluate how each project incorporates climate resilient principles and ensure consistency across the department. So what are our mission? Our mission is to sustainably manage the water resources of California in cooperation with other agencies to benefit the state's people and to protect, restore, and enhance the natural and human environments. So we currently have about 3,400 employees, a lot of different offices. We have a lot of different offices, divisions throughout California, and we have more than 250 classifications. So what exactly is a classification? It is basically a very general term we use to describe a group of positions with shared qualities or characteristics. So even though they have shared qualities or characteristics, it doesn't mean they will be performing the same job duties. There can be a lot of different positions that are performing very specific or very different job duties in different areas under the same classification. For example, in state service, there is a classification called Staff Services Analyst. So no one knows what it is if you just listen to, hey, Staff Services Analyst, what is that? So every department or even every office might use that classification differently. Some of them might be using that for budget area. Some might be on more personnel area, or some might be even on contract area or training. So even though they're all performing very different job duties, they are all under the same classifications. So here you can see a map of our region and field division boundaries, and also a list of where our offices and divisions are located at. Our headquarters is located in downtown Sacramento, and our offices and divisions are located throughout California, from Oroville in Northern California, all the way to Glendale in the Los Angeles area. So today we have 3 different supervisors here with us. So first, we have Samantha Blackwood, who oversees the classification and placement unit in our Division of Human Resources. We also have Kevin C., who is the Deputy Chief Information Officer from our Division of Technology Services. And last but not least, we have Jason Bunce, who is our Apprenticeship Program Training Center Supervisor from the Division of Operations and Maintenance.
So good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Samantha Blackwood, and like Claire said, I'm a manager in the Human Resources Office. I have been with the state for 10 years. I got on with the state because I had a really strong sense of civic duty. I really wanted to do something that gave back. And working for the state and being a civil servant really spoke to that part of me. In addition, on a more practical side, I started with the state during the hiring freeze and recession of 2008, 2009. And what I found is that the state provided me a lot of safety and security. It has very competitive wages, excellent benefits. Just it provided me a career and not just a job. And so what I found though is when I tried to get on with the state, I had that same struggle that a lot of other people had. That was, oh my gosh, it is so hard to find a state job and get on with the state if you don't know someone or are related to someone that works for the state. So what I'm hoping is that after today, you will know someone who works for the state, all of the presenters here today and Claire, and we're here to help you kind of navigate that process a little bit. So a lot of folks, they kind of don't know where to begin. They go, I'd really like to get a state job, but I don't know what jobs I could qualify for or what even speaks to me. And so I want to just put a little bug in your ear about 4 really good ways to enter HR careers. So if you think human resources is where you should be, if you really enjoy helping people and you like creative problem solving, then this is the place for you. So 4 areas that are really good to get in, these entry points into the human resources careers are the office assistant series, the office technician series, a personnel specialist, and a personnel technician. So I'm going to go over just a little bit about what each one of these are. Okay, so an office assistant is like your entry-level clerical administrative support. What you're seeing on your screen are minimum qualifications for entry, or just the basic minimum things that the threshold that you need to meet to get into this series, special requirements for these 2 classifications, and then the proof is in the pudding. So we've got those salary ranges listed up on that screen for you. So you can see that right away and know this is something that's going to work for me, or I'd like to see what other options you might have available. So the office assistant series, there's 2. There's typing and general. The difference is that a general office assistant is doing more of your filing, answering phones, making copies, data entry, whereas your typing office assistant is going to do a lot more typing correspondence, drafting memos, typing letters, and things like that. So if you want to go into the office assistant typing classification, which does pay a little bit more, you will need to obtain a typing certificate certifying that you can type at least 40 words per minute. Now, there's certain requirements on how to obtain that certificate, and I do have some links later on in this presentation so you can get some more information on that. But that's one of those requirements for if you go into that typing series. Other than that, your experience is either 1 year of just general clerical experience or equivalent to completion of the 12th grade. When we talk about experience, I also want you folks to be thinking about giving yourself credit for everything. So even if you haven't worked in an office, if you haven't necessarily been a receptionist or something like that, please give yourself credit for all of your experience, because everything that you do, you're obtaining knowledge, you're acquiring skills, you're advancing your abilities. And so, I mean, I can think of just myself. I met this requirement many, many, many years ago. I used to help my parents in their store, and I packed shelves, and I worked as a cashier, and I did inventory on a spreadsheet, and I did customer service, and I answered phones, and I opened mail. And so even though I was just volunteering in their store over summer, that was really good work experience, and I could use that to qualify for entry into this classification. So the next level up from an office assistant is an office technician. So an office technician is considered promotional. You'll see there that the salary ranges are a little bit higher. This also requires a typing certificate if you go into that typing series of at least 40 words per minute. And then the experience is beefed up a little bit. So this one, instead of just the equivalent to graduation from the 12th grade, you do have to have that equivalency, but they do also ask for a little bit of general experience. And so their general experience is going to be 1 year of just general clerical office experience, or 2 years, I'm sorry, of general clerical office experience. And so again, give yourself credit for everything. I was on the phone with a lady the other day, and this is a dramatic example, but she was telling me, I don't have any experience. I can't get into this office tech series. I know I'm qualified. And I was like, well, what have you done? And we're going through all of her work history. And she starts explaining to me that she goes, well, I used to play Mrs. Claus for my husband's Christmas party every year. I was like, well, tell me more about that. And it was a lot of stuff she had to do. She had to coordinate picking up and dropping off of the costumes. They gave her a budget. She had to control the line. She had to create schedules for the various staff who were volunteering as like elves and Santa and helpers and the camera people. And so all of these things were actual practical work experience things that they could use. So we helped her tailor her up a little bit so that she would qualify for this office tech series. The next classification that I want to tell you about is a personnel specialist. A personnel specialist is a wonderful way to get into the state. Personnel specialists are what we would consider payroll. Payroll people keep pay, they issue checks, they help people with their leave balances, they key their vacation and their leave, they help people file their retirement paperwork. Personnel specialists are like your bread and butter of personnel, of HR. And even though we just use these at Department of Water Resources, the entire state uses these classifications. The state is one of the largest employers in California. They're in the top 5. And of the 200 departments that exist in state government, they all use personnel specialists. This is a wonderful place to start if you're just trying to get your foot in the door in state service. So personnel specialists, in order to qualify for this classification, you need 2 years of office experience and equivalent to graduation of the 12th grade. So this 2 years of office experience, like I said, this is, have you volunteered somewhere? Have you been a cashier? Have you answered phones? Have you distributed mail? Have you filed something? Have you helped somebody with their business? These are all things that could be considered office experience and get you into this series. The salary down at the bottom, you can see it's divided into ranges. So range A, B, C, and D. What happens in the state is everybody starts at the minimum of range A. However, there is this thing, it's called alternate range criteria, which means if you have applicable experience on your application, we'll try to put you in a higher range based on what experience you have. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your state applications are detailed and they have a lot of information and you are giving yourself credit for all the experience that you have, because we'll try to put you in one of those higher ranges. Then what also happens with the state is after 6 months or a year within that range, you automatically get put into a higher range. So you'll start at range A, then you'll move to range B. A year later, you'll move to range C. A year later, you'll move to range D. So you just keep getting these raises without doing anything but just working your job. After you hit range D, you get a 5% raise every year after that until you max out. Working with the state is a great deal because you move through these ranges and you get these 5% increases every year, which that's really good and better than private sector. So yeah, I would love a raise every year for doing nothing else but just staying in my job and doing a great job at it. All right, the last classification that I want to talk to you about is a personnel technician. A personnel technician is somebody who assists analysts. There's a lot of different things that personnel technicians could do. They could be doing data entry, they could be assembling examination packets, they could be coordinating schedules, they could be reserving conference rooms. So personnel technicians do a lot to assist analysts in their analytical duties. Entry into the personnel technician series only requires 1 year of work experience. That's it. As long as you can demonstrate that that work experience has contributed to the development of verbal, analytical, or writing skills, then you're in. You've met the minimum qualifications for entrance into that series. And in addition, this also has ranges A and B. Department of Water Resources does not use ranges L and M. That's an aside. only because that's very specific to the duties that are performed. Like if you are designated confidential and you are helping with labor negotiations or something like that. We don't really do that here at Water, but other departments might, so look out for that. Okay, so what this is showing you on the screen is your HR career pathways. This is up here to demonstrate to you that you enter into these series, the office assistant, the office technician, a personnel specialist, or personnel tech. There is a very clearly defined and well-established pathway for upward mobility with the state. So you don't have to toil around, you don't have to transfer, you don't have to go backwards. The path is already laid out in front of you so that if you put in your time, and these aren't just linear, you can go back and forth between these series. The more experience you gain, there's new opportunities and new classifications open to you, all the way up to being a member of executive staff. My own division manager started out as a personnel specialist, and now she is a career executive. She is a member of our executive staff with no college degree, and she has done this through all of her state experience. And so this is really important because the state, it welcomes people from all walks. All of your experience is valued and welcome. And this career path is very well defined and laid out for you. There's a lot of movement in HR. So if people decide that, being an analyst really isn't for me, I really want to be in payroll, or maybe this personnel tech work is really speaking to me. HR is used in a lot of different facets. We provide employee training. We do payroll. We do benefits. We do classification plans. We do organizational management. We do performance management. We're used in so many different ways. We are so integral to the structure of each department that HR is really a good place to get your foot in the door. Okay, so here I want to share 5 resources with you that's going to give you an edge over other people on navigating the state system. The first is called minimum qualifications. How do you find out what all these minimum qualifications are for all these state classifications? That link is going to take you there. You go to that link and you are going to find all the classifications in the state, and it's going to tell you those minimum qualifications for all of them. Because the state is a multi-level hiring process, I've also included the link to how to find state exams. That is also a little bit tricky to find. So if you're going to want to go on there and take any and all exams that you qualify for, take them now, take them today, take them this week, because it's important that you get on those exam lists. If you're confused on how to do it, like I said earlier, you now know several people who work for the state. And so we're going to be your in to help you with that. There's this thing called a staff services analyst transfer exam. I'm putting this on here because this is a really important tip and trick that nobody else is going to tell you about. So a staff services analyst is the single most important analytical classification we use in the entire state. There are more staff services analysts than there are any other type of analytical classification. If you look at the minimum qualifications, it's going to tell you that you have to have a college degree. That is not true. There is something called an SSA, or Staff Services Analyst Transfer Exam. What this exam is it's a special benefit to state workers who are in promotional classifications. So if you get your foot in the door as an office assistant and then you promote up to an OT, office technician, personnel specialist, they can qualify for this SSA transfer exam, and it's a written test. If you take this transfer exam, then you can transfer to an SSA without ever having to obtain that college degree. This SSA transfer exam, you're going to want to remember that because that is your trick to get into that analyst series. The next link I put on there is for all the jobs. So yes, there's all these classifications, but they're tied to jobs somehow. So if you're just getting your feet wet for the very first time and you're like, wow, I just really kind of want to see what jobs are out there, where they're located, if they're offering remote options or whatnot, you can go to that jobs.ca.gov and look around for jobs on there. And then also, because like I said, the proof is in the pudding, how much do these jobs pay? There's your link to all those pay scales. So you can find out exactly what those salary ranges are going to be. The state is great because you don't have to negotiate your salary. It's already going to be determined for you. The state is also great because right now, almost every position that we have offers remote That is right. Remote work from home capabilities. And so we have embraced telework, and it is one of the easiest work environments to get involved with.
So you mentioned that typing certificate is necessary for the typing series. So where do people get the typing certificate?
Thank you. That is a wonderful question. Okay, so in order to get your typing certificate, you have to take a 5-minute test that is proctored by a human. So that is different than just Googling typing test and taking an online typing test. Proctored means that it is administered by a person. It does not have to be in person. It just has to be administered by a human. So it could be done remotely, but it has to be done by a person who says, okay, your time begins now and your time stops now. That is the only requirement, that it is 5 minutes and it is administered or proctored by a person.
Thank you.
Does the Department of Water Resources accepting any work experience in other country? Because I have a work experience in the Philippines in an HR office.
Yes, your work experience from other countries counts 100%.
Thank you so much. And now we gotta move on to another very interesting career type, which is our IT division. And Kevin, whenever you're ready, please go for it.
Great. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Princess. Glad to be here, and thank you for putting this together. So IT is a very interesting, dynamic career. My name is Kevin C. I am the Deputy CIO with the Department of Water Resources, been with the department for roughly about 6 years, with the state about 26 years now. I actually started the state as a staff services analyst. So my first job wasn't even in technology after graduating from Sacramento State. So my first job was, I was actually with the Office of Government Affairs doing bill analysis. So that kind of transitioned to IT and so on and so forth through the 26-year career with the state. But basically within the bar, I oversee all the service delivery side of our IT environment. And so very interesting environment. So these are the classifications that we have in IT. They basically, back in 2018, there was a huge consolidation that consolidated from probably 20, 30, 40 different classification into these you see on the slide. And they start really, the entry level for IT is the IT technician. That's generally the entry level, and then you go from technician to the associate, to the specialist 1, 2, and 3. And then if you want to go in the supervision route, there's the IT supervisor 1 and 2, and then the IT manager route, which is 1 and 2. And so the salary range is everywhere from the technician starting at about 45,000 and going all the way up to the IT manager to about 148,000 or so. Really wide range in terms of pay scales and what we do. But basically, if you look at these classification, it really breaks down into 6 technology domain. And what is a domain? So in the state, what they did was with each of the classification, they broke it down into different type of specialty. So it could be business technology management as one domain, client services. I'll kind of go through each of what they do in a brief overview. But the 6 that we have is business technology management, client services, information security, information technology project management, software engineering, and system engineering. So let's start with the business technology management. That's generally where our folks is specialized in procurement. They're business analysts. They go out there and do business process reengineering. So those are those classification in terms of what the duties of what they do. And then move on to client services. That's where you generally find a lot of our help desk analysts or service desk analysts. They do a lot of support for end user computing environments. So desktop support, PC support, basic troubleshooting. And then you kind of go into the space of security engineering, which is all the security side of the house, whether cybersecurity, network security, intrusion security, firewall security, and so on and so forth. Then we have project management. So these are the folks that actually, manage from the beginning end of implementing an IT project. So very specialized in that space. And then the last 2 is software engineering and system engineering. So on the software engineering side, you get folks like our application developers, so for example, our architects, our database administrators, any of those folks that's on the software side of the house. And then you go to the system engineering side, these are folks that are in our networking space, our system operations space, where they manage the servers, the virtualization, the data center. And so each of these classifications that you see on the screen have a specialty. And so look at it from the perspective of where you're interested in, and you can take that specialty all the way from a technician 1 all the way to a specialist 3 potentially. So depending on the size of the department, as you go up range, obviously the complexity becomes higher and higher, where the entry level is the technician route, and they go over to the specialist 3 route. And so DWR is in a sense, is very interesting. We run our own tier 3 data center. So basically in all these domains, we have actually jobs for every piece of this domain. We run the full cycle of technology where if there are any IT folks on this call, pretty much any vendor you probably thought of, we probably have in terms of their technology, whether it's VMware or Palo Alto or ServiceNow, or Tanium, McAfee, HP, Dell, to name a few. And so we get into pretty much everything that we do. We do run a very specialized, highly multi-cloud environment. And what's a multi-cloud? So you heard me mention that we run our own on-prem data center. So we actually have our tier 3 data center that we run at DWR. And it's not running just for DWR, but for the entire resources agency. And so that's located in Sacramento. But we also leverage hybrid data centers like Amazon, Azure, Microsoft. These are data centers that are in the cloud that we leverage in terms of what we call a hybrid mode, meaning on-prem, off-prem kind of type. And then we also add another piece, which is a lot of our software as a service vendor community, like DocuSign and ServiceNow, and those things. So we pretty much get a hand into a little bit of everything and anything, and so to speak. Our duties and our positions are pretty much all over those 6 different domains. And so we're not specializing in one piece, but in pretty much everything that we have that's tied to IT related.
I have a question.
Sure.
We have students and graduates who receive a Comptia Plus certification after they attend the IT course.
Right.
How would that apply for information technology technician? Would they be able to apply just solely with that? Is that recognized, or maybe you can go into a little bit more detail about it?
Great. So great question, Princess. So the CompTIA, so you can apply into, that's more in the client services space. And so I believe the minimum qualification for IT technician is 6 months of general IT experience. And then, or if you have quarter units, I believe it's 15 semester units, total quarter, and then at least 6 of those units got to be in IT space.
Okay.
So you can both apply in terms of your experience, or in terms of education, or combination of both. So where Sam put together all the different links, those also apply to information technology. And so those are these are the classifications that you look up under those links, and you'll see the MQs for each one of them as well. So they all apply across the board.
Perfect, thank you.
So I do have a question for Kevin, because I know Kevin is a hiring manager. So what do you look for when someone come in for an interview, maybe for a more entry-level position?
Sure. So really, I really look for attitude and aptitude. I'm a great believer in we can teach someone how to do technology. I myself was never actually started in this space of technology. And so I guess I'm walking proof of that. So I really look for attitude and aptitude. Really learn about our department. You may run across a question that you don't know, and that's okay. Just say, I don't know, but I'm able to learn really quickly. I'm able to look up things. I'm very resourceful in terms of how to acquire that skill. A lot of the levels that we look at as a hiring manager, if I'm looking for a IT technician 1 or IT associate, I'm coming from the mindset of I'm looking really for aptitude and attitude, because it's a mindset that I want to train you and be able to kind of grow in terms of your skill set over the years. And then once you get into the specialist 1s and the 2s and 3s, that's when I'm sort of looking at from the perspective of, very core skill sets that I'm looking for. That, you must be, if you're applying for, say, a networking position, you must know firewalls, for example. At a specialist 1s and 2s and 3s, I'm probably not going to train you too much in terms of how to, how to work on a firewall. But if you're coming as a technician or associate, then my criteria kind of shift in terms of, there's a lot of training opportunities in the state that will kind of put you through this track to go, okay, we're doing, say, Palo Alto firewall as an example, then we will train you, say, into Palo Alto firewall training. And so it really goes back to aptitude and attitude. Really are the two things that really resonate with me with a candidate, and being genuine in terms of, I just really want to learn. Is this IT is certainly a very exciting field, and there's many different things that you can do within IT. Our culture is within IT, we like to have fun, but it is a very fast-paced culture. We are very technology centric in terms of that, because of the different things that we get ourselves into, and so it's fun. It's always fun. It's always something new. I think what we've all learned too in the last couple of years with this pandemic, that IT became kind of the forefront in terms of how do we bring all the technology to people at home now and be able to connect from home and do work from home, in such a rapid pace. We don't sign anything, by paper anymore. Everything's digitally signed now, because we're all in different locations and in different places now. And so we've gone kind of in terms of where we used to be to where we are in a very quick time frame. And I think that's really exciting. I think this is a time where there's a lot of opportunities in the technology career space. Certainly, I echo the same sentiments that Sam did in terms of public service. I've been with the state for 26 years. It kind of, I started very young right out from college, and right now, 20 years later, I have 2 kids. They're going through college themselves, and so on. So it's something that I encourage everyone to take a look at. Just such great benefits with the state, and I can't say that enough. I've also during the 26 years stint, I did had a couple of years where I was working in the private sector, and I went back to the state, and so I've tried kind of different things, and definitely the state is where I'm going to retire from, and then in the number of years ahead. So.
And what type of training opportunities do people have when they go into the IT careers in DWR? Like, is it more like on-the-job training, maybe classroom training, or anything like that?
I think it's all of the above. I think there's certain things that we would there's online training, there's in classroom training, and nothing's better than on the job training, right? And so when we start a new technology, generally what we do is we send folks to the appropriate training, just-in-time training, and then we also bring special subject matter experts in. Either they're with the company that we bought the technology from, and we pair them with our staff, where they get the kind of the side-by-side on the job training, because there's no better training than actually doing the work, and then having kind of an expert kind of sitting right next to you to kind of help you guide you through the process. And so it's a combination of number of training resources. Like within DWR, you guys put in a great, it's a Lincoln Learning. There's just tons and tons of courses that any staff can go into and type in, I learned about ServiceNow. They type in ServiceNow, and all of a sudden they get like 30, 40 courses. We run SAP, which is our enterprise resource ERP system. And you type in SAP, for example, and there's hundreds of training. And so there's a lot of on-demand too that we offer here. And any staff can go in there and get it at any time. And then of course, there's a very specialized where we do, where they offer a week in a training site and actually have, formal classroom training. So it's a mixture, and Claire, it really depends on what we're trying to accomplish and the best method to accomplish that with.
Say thank you so much, Kevin. And we got to move on to our last supervisors today.
My name is Jason Bunce. I am the Operations and Maintenance Training Center Supervisor. And then I have additional responsibilities as a hydroelectric plant mechanic supervisor. So a couple of different things there that I do. One, with the training center, I oversee the training and the instructors and the staff at the training center when it comes to our apprentice program, our journey level seminars, and our HEP technician training. And then as a hydroelectric plant mechanic, I oversee the crews at two different plants here in San Joaquin, which is down by Bakersfield. I oversee the mechanical maintenance projects. So we work on the large pumping units and auxiliary equipment. We work on the California aqueduct, on some of the check sites. And then we have some stuff we do in our operations and maintenance yard that we take care of as well. So I've been with the state for almost 18 full years. I started as a MTOT and a service assistant, and I got into the apprentice program in 2005 as a mechanical apprentice. Graduated or started in January 2005, graduated in 2008, where I spent time as an apprentice in San Joaquin, journeyed out, went to Southern Field Division, which is over in, covers a couple counties, LA County, San Bernardino, Riverside counties. So I worked out there, came back to the training center as instructor when I got promoted as a lead. I worked as a foreman, and then finally where I'm at today as a supervisor, running the training center and, like I said, the mechanical crews at two plants, Chrisman and T-Rink. So as far as a career here at DWR, I can't stress enough the value it's been for me and my family, the opportunities to make really good money, take time off when you need to, in terms of vacation time or if you're sick or whatever it might be, the opportunities to work at a career for 20, 30, 40 years, and then be able to retire and spend the rest of your life living comfortably. Those were the things that brought me to the department. Fortunately, I did know somebody that worked here, so that did help. And I was able to get my foot in the door and then make the most of it. So today, I think the biggest thing that I'm a proponent of and I support and I promote as much as I can is our apprentice program. And our apprentice program is a paid apprenticeship program where apprentices that get hired on, they do on-the-job training. They come to our classroom facility here at the training center, which is about 30 miles south of Bakersfield. And if you're from out of town, the department puts you on per diem. So we'll put you in a hotel and we'll give you money for, food and necessities. And you'll come here and take courses that stress fundamental theory and knowledge of the piece of equipment that you'll be working on or with. There are 4 different trades of our apprentice program. There's a utility crafts worker apprentice, which is a 3-year program, and our utility crafts workers, those are the folks that we call them the jack of all trades. They work on the outside. They do a lot of outside work. They run our heavy equipment like our bulldozers and our backhoes and our motor graders. They drive, they have to get a Class A license and drive our big semi trucks that when we haul stuff from different facilities up and down the state. They do carpentry work, some welding, a little bit of machine shop work. They do our coding stuff. So they do a lot of things and very interesting work. Our hydroelectric plant operator is also a 3-year apprentice program. And the operators are the folks that run the plants. So it's a 24/7 operation. Those are the folks that operate our valves and our breakers, and they shut the units on and off, and they're on a schedule, and they walk through the plant and they take notes of what's working and what's not, so they can give plant maintenance, which is the electricians and mechanics, things to look at and fix and work on. So they're kind of like I call them the bosses of the plant. So everything goes through them. And they're the eyes and ears of the everyday operation. Hydroelectric plant electrician apprentice is a 4-year program. And those are the folks that work on the electric motors, rotors, stators. They run wiring, conduit. They troubleshoot all the electrical equipment, the auxiliary equipment that goes along with our operating our main units. And then there's hydroelectric plant mechanical apprentice, which is what I went through. And those folks work on the pumps, they work on the turbines, they work on auxiliary equipment, cooling water strainers and smaller pumps and HVAC units and stuff like that. So they do welding work and machine shop, work on hydraulics and pneumatic equipment. Those are the 4 trades, and they each have their unique things about them. what I can say about all of them is that they are a challenging program, but they're very rewarding. And what I say by that is, one, you don't have to go like other apprenticeships. Other apprenticeships, you work all day and you have to go to school at night. In our apprentice program, you actually come to school for like a week at a time, and you go back out in the field and you do on-the-job training. You come back 3 or 4 weeks from there, do some more training in the classroom, and the entire time you're getting paid. And as long as you do your requirements every 6 months of your hours and the exams you have to do, you'll get promoted to the next range, and you'll get a raise every 6 months until you turn out. And when you turn out of the program after 3 or 4 years, you are guaranteed a journey level position within the department. It may not be in the same place that you started the apprentice program, but you will have a journeyman position within the department, and you'll get this 4 or 5 raises after that until you've maxed out at that salary. There's a lot of opportunity for overtime, a lot of opportunity to move from different plants and locations, different areas up and down the state. Like I said, I've been between 2 field divisions of both San Joaquin and Southern Field Division in my almost 18 years. So there's a lot of flexibility with that, a lot of opportunities to move up the ladder. There's a lot of former apprentices that have moved up to leads and supervisors and branch managers, and even beyond that as field division managers and above that. It's good paying, it's competitive, and there's an opportunity to learn a trade and work on the state water project or the flood maintenance yards and operate this critical infrastructure that serves millions of Californians. So the work that gets done on a daily basis here is fun. A lot of times it's big. Just yesterday and today, we moved a 180,000 pound rotor and dropped it into the motor using our bridge crane. And it took a group of mechanics and electricians working collaboratively together to move this huge piece of equipment into a small area with not too much room to make a mistake. But we do it all the time. And that's one of the rewarding parts is to see something that we've worked on over the last 6-7 months be put back together so we can start moving water again with that particular piece of equipment. As far as the requirements to be an apprentice, you have to be 18 years of age. You have to have a valid driver's license, but you do not have to have any prior experience. In fact, sometimes not having any experience is what we're looking for, because we will teach you everything you need to know in the apprentice program. And from giving people tools and equipment and putting them through the school, that's all provided. So there's not any prior experience that's needed. In fact, tomorrow we will be having our largest apprentice class ever of 45 apprentices. So next week they'll be here for orientation. Next 2 weeks they'll be here for orientation. So, and there are a few individuals on there. One apprentice that I'm getting tomorrow is only 19 years old, and she doesn't have too much experience, but she's excited, and we're looking forward to having her and teaching her the trade. So we're excited for that. As far as what it takes to apply for the apprentice program, just this past year we went to an online application process on Cal Careers, and then we did an online exam. And there's a separate exam for each one of the trades. So if you're interested in taking two of the trades or all 4, say you want to do all 4, you'd have to take 4 separate entrance exams. We just got done having a meeting about when we wanted to kind of go start the process over for next year's group. So in the next couple of months here, we'll be posting something on the website with information on how to apply for the program. Any individuals that are interested in taking the exam, definitely want to brush up on arithmetic, addition, subtraction, all the way up to algebra, geometry, a little bit of trigonometry, and then take some reading comprehension and be able to identify some basic tools like a hammer, a screwdriver, a pair of pliers, that kind of thing. Those are all things that would prepare someone to take the exam.
What does one expect? Like, they may not know which one they want to get into, but they have a high desire to maybe get into the utility crafts worker apprentice. What would one expect on the exam? And what if it's not something they want to get into after? That's just a 2-part question.
So what they can expect on the exam is, like I said, basic, well, not basic arithmetic, but there'll be there'll be questions on the exam on, finding volumes and areas of things, a little bit of algebra, factoring. There'll be like fractions and stuff like that they'll have to work through. We want folks that will be ready to like take measurements or look at an area and see how much concrete they're going to pour. So those are the kind of math problems that would be on there, along with reading comprehension and then just identification of basic tooling. If someone took the exam or someone started the apprentice program, we don't really have too many people that once they start, they quit. We actually have a pretty good success rate. If they go to the website, there's some descriptions on the department's website on the jobs link. Should be for each one of the trades, and I think there's even some pictures on there. But if anybody wants to have a conversation with me afterward, I would gladly walk them through what each one of the trades is there, or what's expected of the trades and what kind of work they may be doing. So I don't know if I answered your question fully, but I hope I did.
Yeah, you did. We have what we call MC3 program, multi-core craft curriculum program, where our students can get into the union, and some may not want to go into the general laborers union, but may want to start this apprentice after kind of learning the basic construction trades. So I just wanted to see where they could go. So I'll be looking forward to getting that website and getting on there and sharing that out.
Okay, cool.
So I do have a question for Jason. So I know for the apprenticeship program, we only hire once a year. So do you know when exactly that time will be, and how many people do you usually hire into the program each year?
So yeah, like I said, we just had a conversation on that last week on starting that process. So we were a little bit late last year. It was like September when we did the exam. I'm probably just taking a wild guess here. We might do something in June, maybe July, as far as doing the online application and then the exam. I'm just taking a shot in the dark here on that. We wanted to do it a little bit earlier than we did last year so we can start the apprentices like we normally do. We usually start the new class in January. So this year we're starting in March, so a little bit behind. There should be something coming up. We're going to start the process and go through that. So hopefully we'll get that information out.
Thank you. So where can I find those information when you guys are posting the jobs? Would it be the regular job website for all the state jobs?
Yeah, it's going to be on the department's announcement, exam announcement site.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so I just want to remind everybody, we might not have mentioned that before. And I always tell people, hey, you're interested in that job, look beyond just one department, especially for HR jobs. Like basically every department has office technician, office assistant, staff services analyst. A lot of state employees, they transfer from one department to another one. Of course, we want you to be with us, but if we don't have anything available at the time that you're looking for jobs, look over maybe to Parks and Rec or CAL FIRE. And when we have any job opening, come apply for our jobs too. And just remember, when you work for the state of California, you start to earn something called state credit. And you also earn leave balance, sick leave balance, or anything like that. And when you go from one department to another department within the state of California, you're taking all those leaves with you. So let's say you save up like 400 hours of leave in maybe CAL FIRE, and then you decided to come to DWR. You're taking those 400 hours leave with you to us. And also, if you're actively looking for a job, and if you're okay with doing maybe a part-time position, go for it. Those positions usually have lower number of people apply. And if you can afford it, you can apply for it, get some knowledge, get some experience that will definitely help you to get a full-time position later on. So you're never too old to apply for a state job, because think about it this way, you have more experience, and that's what we need. So age is not a problem. I don't care about age anymore now that I get older. Oh, one more thing is I want to just add something to the personnel specialist position or classifications that Sam talked about a little bit earlier. So just a little bit more information. that classification is eligible for a $2,400 per year recruitment and retention pay differential after 12 qualifying months in the classification. So you will probably see that on the job ad, and that's a great benefits for our PS, for our personnel specialists.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll get this presentation out to everyone that joined. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I did put our email in the chat. And thank you again to all of our presenters. We really, truly appreciate your time. We know you're working really hard to run your division. So thank you again. Bye, everyone.